Big brother. I did it totally straight.
It's not our ages, it's just that
I
we're
asked her a
popular.
question, she answered it. She said,
Hey, Matt, will you tell me your name? It's hot in my back. Yes, you asked you to speak up. Oh, ask me to speak up.
I actually have happened a couple of times, they must have that program doing it. It's like, no, I'm not telling you my name.
Is this turned out to be creepy?
Creepy, but I use my links, I know it's spy.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Meg. So let's pray. So taking some deep breaths, thank you, God, for this time together to be lifted by a spiritual discussion that is spiritual energy, high spiritual energy. We give thanks that the beautiful energy of our conversation and sharing today is a blessing to each of us. We give thanks for this time, the insights, the blessings, here and now. We claim them, and so it is. Amen.
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 Thank you all. Thank you. Okay, how was everyone's holiday?
Great.
Calm. Calm. That's always a good thing, huh? Calm. Okay, well, I'm doing if you have this book, but it's not required, of course. If you have it, I'm doing 3 chapters. So for June, I want to finish up this book. I want to start something else in July. I could, take this through July too, but I'm ready to look at something else in July. We still have a lot of chapters, and they're short ones. They're little essays on these topics. At least that's my thought for today, and don't hold me to it. But today, 3 chapters: possibility, adjustment, and fulfillment. But I thought I'd start, well, I always like to start with prayer, but I want to start with a poem that I read, that I shared on the evening that we did the meditation, Wednesday evening. I think it was last Wednesday, actually. Were any of you here for that? No. So this will be new to you. I highly recommend Mary Oliver as a poet. I know, she's just the best. I tried to connect with that woman years ago, and it just never worked because I couldn't find her agent, and certainly she's not giving out her phone number. So, and she's passed away since.
Oh, she did.
Yeah. But an incredible poet who taught at one of the women's universities on the East Coast. Anyway, this is a poem that she wrote, and maybe it was a prophecy. Maybe she was visionary and seeing into the future when she wrote it. She wrote it in October of 2006. It's called When Death Comes, and it comes to all of us. She was looking down the road, and this is what she desires. So just close your eyes and take in the words. When death comes, like a hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like a measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending, as all music does, towards silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was a bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited the world. What are your thoughts about that? What would it be like to be a bride married to amazement?
Married to what?
Amazement.
Amazement. That's kind of how I feel right now. It's all amazing, right?
It's all amazing.
Yeah.
If you've got a mind for it, if you've got a heart for it. You have your creative thinking caps on, don't you? You have your creative thinking caps on.
I wasn't sure where
Only
we were
in the
going with it.
over, right?
I wasn't sure where we were going with it when we very first started.
Yeah.
And her description of death, like a bear in the fall or something, I can't remember, but a door slamming shut, that kind of, because I look at death as an exciting experience yet to happen. A new challenge, a new, I don't know. I don't think death is bad. I think death is going to be a new toy box, a new
Great.
a new adventure. A new adventure. Thank you for helping me.
Great.
Betty here.
Oh, Betty's here. Betty's here. I don't see you, Betty. Betty, you just went out.
It's okay to speak, am I on? Yeah. I was just going to say, as far as death is concerned, I don't know about other folks, but when I went through my breast cancer experience and stood in front of the bathroom mirror one night and just looked, I was completely bald, and I'm thinking to myself, what's the worst that can happen? And it wasn't death. The worst that can happen is that I would have a long recovery, and that would be uncomfortable. But when I faced death at that time, I just felt like, I think somebody said, an amazing experience. I'm looking forward to it when the time comes. I want to make sure God understands that I'm not in a rush. But I look forward to it as an amazing experience. And I said to my friends, I said, that's going to be the best trip that I ever have to take. And I don't even have to pack a suitcase. So.
Right on. Thank you, Betty. Were you, all you folks online, were you here for the moments I read the poem by Mary Oliver? Oh, good. I didn't see you. Kathy had helped me out there. So let me get back then to that question. What were your thoughts as you listened to the words of that poem and the description? Yes.
I loved the individual flowers that all created the field.
Yeah.
And the bodies, the metaphors of individuality and also unity. Very beautiful.
Yeah, Diane was saying that she loved the metaphor for each of us being a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence. I was a bride married to amazement. I was a bridegroom taking the world into my arms. So what would it look like if we each took the world into our arms? Hey, Joe?
I had a friend and a mentor that always talked about when she goes to glory,
And it was always kind of more exciting about glory. In her look, she would read to her grandchildren, and they kept saying, "Me, Mom, when are you going to glory?" And she kept talking about it, you know. And she said, "Well, it's going to be a long time off, but I'm really looking forward to it." So it kind of set an example of amazement going to glory.
Amazement.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in some passages of scripture, as well as sermons that I've listened to over the years, particularly I can think of one preacher who would talk about the glory of God. And I initially always wondered, well, what does the glory of God look like, feel like? And I've come to the conclusion that it feels like being hugged. It feels like the feeling of profound love that we can feel, perhaps for kids, for friends, for spouses. The glory of God is the light of God, all the goodness of God in its magnitude. You can imagine that. Bliss. We'd be blissed
Oh,
out.
yes, bliss.
Who else? Any other comments, Darlene?
I was going to say, Sunday, when Billy was talking, she was talking about we come from the light, and when we die, we go back to the light. So it's a positive thing,
Yeah.
where I think that most of us, and myself included, have grown up with the idea that, you know, death is the end, and that's it.
Well, what I want to hold up is that Mary Oliver in this poem has looked at what will it be like in those last hours or moments of my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she was describing in the first part of the poem. She's thinking, maybe she witnessed her partner's death.
Mm-hmm.
She walked with her partner through the tunnel, let's say. And I have too. You've all been with someone on their deathbed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, no, someone said no. Joy, no. I've been with a few, and I've walked with some before they got to the deathbed, but the experience of knowing that your time is not forever right now. You and I, those of us sitting here have no clue when the end is coming, but some people have.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten a diagnosis and they know. They have things happening in their body and they're clear. So she's, with her creative thinking, is imagining or experiencing, maybe re-experiencing what it was like as she watched people step up to the door. And then she takes that and says, now what is that going to mean to me for my life today?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the point, right? Isn't that the point? I mean, it is for me. I don't know about you. What do you think, Howard? No?
No. I don't know what to say. I do think the experience for many people, it's not difficult or traumatic. It may very well be exciting, and as I forget who was talking before, Betty, it's something to look forward to. So
How beautiful.
I think we get to a point in life, I don't know if you're all there, but it's, as we grow older, we dread and worry and those things bother us. And then as we get to a certain point in life, we're accepting that, you know, that door's pretty close and we're going to go through it, and we don't worry about it anymore. It's just something to look forward to.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
We do have somebody had their hand up,
Who was that?
but I can't.
Maya.
Bottom there. I can't see.
Oh,
that.
Maya, yeah, Maya.
Okay.
I would just like to add that the lines near the end about I don't want to sigh, and
This. I don't want you doing, I want you doing this.
one thing that I've found with the people that I've gone through their death process is even though we talk a lot about be here now, I think that some of the nows, we need to remember the wonderful things we've done through our life, because some of those things, as you're getting to the end of your life, you can't do anymore, and it can be frustrating. So if you've developed the ability to remember the really great times and the good things in your life so that you can pull them up near the end, and people can help be with you and remind you of the amazing things you have done in your life. It's very helpful. It's been really helpful with all of the people I've been blessed to be with near the end. Of course, the last few days are often, you're not really chatting anymore, but you can have talked about and help to remind them of what a beautiful life they've lived, and allow them to relax into the next chapter, whatever that might be.
Lovely, lovely. That was lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, let me read the last couple lines again, because it speaks so much to not only what you said, Maya, about reflecting on a good life, as well as living in the moment. You know, make the best of the life we have today. So she says, she's appreciating. I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity just another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. If only I could do that every moment of my life, especially when I'm driving.
All pretty flowers. No
They're
bad
all
flowers.
pretty flowers in the garden I'm driving in right now.
Do you think we could have a copy of that?
Sure.
Okay, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Remind me at the end, and Kathy can make a copy.
Beautiful.
When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. So if we haven't been married to amazement yet, it's not too late. And I was a bridegroom taking the world into my arms. Like I wasn't resisting anything. I wasn't fighting with what is or what was. I took it all into my arms like a bridegroom. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I've made something of my life.
Can I
Goodbye.
comment?
Please.
Oh, it's Kathy. It reminds me of my father at the end. He was always a computer geek. He's the one who taught me to program and just to get involved with computers. And so he had a website. It's a goofy website, a grandpa website. But in his folder that he told me to go to when he passed, he had in there instruction to, and it was real easy. He had it all set up to announce his passing on his website. He had set it all up, and it just talked about his passing page was pictures of angels and blue skies, and he had used a lot of GIFs, and he wrote how wonderful his life was. He's so blessed, and he knows that it's going to continue to be wonderful. It was just such a great thing for those of us who were in mourning to see.
Yeah, that he was happy and
Yeah.
felt so good about his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, very beautiful. What a nice, what an amazing legacy to leave.
Yeah, he did.
Anybody else before I jump forward here? All right. So this is in the book, Emily Dickinson. We turn not older with years, but newer every day. would that look like for you? We turn that older with years, but newer every day. And I say, what would that look like? Well, for myself, what would that look like for me? What would it look like for you?
I think again, possibilities, looking at anything's possible. Everything's possible.
Everything's possible. And I mean, I know you shared what you do in the morning. You know, you take this walk where you're appreciating everything. It's like new every day, right? Who else?
I would agree with Geraldine. I think possibilities is what comes to my mind every day.
Great, positive possibilities, right? Great, thank you. That was Linda. Did y'all hear Linda? Yes, no? Maybe? Who else?
Talking to Mike.
Yes, Betty Jo.
I think living in the moment and knowing you're okay for that moment and being in gratitude, it just paves the way for the next moment. And
Yes.
the next moment. So it's all going to be okay.
What a great thought that Betty Jo was saying, to be present in the moment and grateful for it and grateful in the moment, and that it paves the way for the next moment. Because one thought begets another, right? By the law. The law of mind action is what I think about, I bring about. And what I think about, I give my faith to. And what I'm thinking about, I'm giving my attention to. And it's like the bridegroom and the bride. You hear what I'm saying? My thinking is the bridegroom married to the moment and having intercourse. And what happens is I get a baby out of it, just like the thought I had.
Joy and bliss.
I'm sorry for the metaphor if that's offensive, but you know, I'm a woman.
Oh, I like it.
Maybe Howard has another metaphor.
Another possibility.
Oh my God.
And it's a choice every day. It's a choice
It's a choice every moment. Right?
every moment, yes.
Well, I will admit, I was having trouble with all your positivity about possibilities as I see some drying out. But as you think about it, possibility for peace in the moment and for acceptance and for experiencing something new, like people are talking about, different kind of possibility.
Yeah.
Aging.
Yeah.
Different kind of possibility.
All kinds of possibilities. Like Karen just got back from, we were in Idaho?
Yes.
Idaho, and visiting her son and a grandson she hadn't seen for a while at 6'6" now. And what a possibility. You know, the possibilities, you can get on a plane and go to Idaho.
I have these myself.
Well, I'm proud of you, that's what.
I also felt, and I don't really have the words always to express the feelings, but it was like a wave coming out of the source, carrying me through this experience. And even though I was having like physical problems and stuff, I just felt like they weren't that bad. You know, they weren't that bad, and what a joyous experience. It just moved me.
Yeah.
And I was in the wave.
Yeah, I get it.
And going.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was, my research, what interests me, a lot of things interest me these days, but in terms of spiritual maximizing ourselves spiritually, I'm very interested in energy. And everything is energy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
thoughts are energy. And thoughts create biochemistry. So I'm really giving that attention to, for me, to accept the negative that comes. Just look at it, as Diane has gave us that great metaphor, hug the fear. Whatever is, you just accept it, look at it, hello. And as our poem said, a brother and a sister. We look on all of it as a brother or a sister. Every thought maybe. Like not something to be poo-pooed, rejected, slammed. It's about a brother or a sister. And yet, and that perspective, I'm talking too much.
No, you are not.
I want to hear from
You're
you.
inspiring thought. Yeah, we like.
Well, and that perspective is an elevated emotion to begin with. Any kind of resistance is a low energy,
Yes. Yeah.
low energy, and that affects our biochemistry.
Affects the cell.
So negative thoughts are what they are, fears are what they are, judgments are what they are. But if it's a brother or a sister, we say we're compassionate, right? We're understanding, rather than oh, look what I just thought.
Maybe you should share the gasoline.
That's all I have to say about that. What are you all thinking out there?
Well, I think,
Betty Jo?
when you marry the thought and the feeling, then that produces form.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful about what form you want to create. So you need to raise your consciousness to that level that you wish, desire.
That's deep.
Cognitive behavioral therapy. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and in Unity, one of the things that stayed with me from the time I found Unity and started studying was a very simple math, a very simple math. And that is what you said, thinking plus feeling equals a demonstration. When thinking and feeling aren't the same kind of energy, there's incoherence.
Right.
And incoherence creates lack of clarity. And lack of clarity messes with our biochemistry, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely.
So I have a question for everybody. I'm struck with Karen, your trip to Idaho and your large. So I've been wanting to go back to Italy, where I lived when I was very young, but I have health issues. So back to what you're talking about, the thinking, the feeling is very much passionate about doing it on the bucket list. But the thinking is, okay, you're working with these situations, not against them, but with them. Usually I can have serious problems with my legs if I'm on a plane for more than 2 hours because of my leg condition. But then when I hear you guys talk, I think, oh, I should just get over that and hop on that plane anyhow. How does everyone balance? It's not negativity as much as reality.
And wisdom. Wisdom.
Well, wait a minute, how do we know until we really try something that it is gonna be? I mean, it's especially in my history, I take a lot of, we made it to Hawaii last year, we make it here, I get on the aisle, afraid that my legs don't start cramping and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, that's a long flight over there.
It is.
And I break it up on the East Coast with friends and relatives, but it's still a long flight. But I feel kind of stuck with this issue of, Betty Jo, what do you think about creating that belief that all will be okay?
Do you get the incoherence?
I do. That's why I'm asking the question. I don't know if anybody else goes through this as far as.
Let me pause with those online. Did you all hear Diane? No? You a little bit. So let me interpret
A
this.
sad saga.
So Diane was saying that she's longing to go back to Italy. And she has some pictures about that and emotions about it. And then there's the reality of what happens, or her anticipation, knowing reality with issues with her health, particularly her leg. The thoughts get in the way of the passion, or they bump up against her passion to go to Italy. These thoughts of, you know, what's going to happen? I know what my legs have done before. Is it going to be a repeat? Then I'm cramped up and in pain. So and that was in response to me saying, when thinking and feelings aren't matched, there's incoherence. And that's where we don't know what to do.
Failure to make a decision.
Yes. Yeah.
Failure to launch.
So Diane's question is, give me an answer. Can you give
Yeah,
me?
what do you guys do about that? I'm sure other people have run up against it.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
That's why we study spiritual ideas,
Yeah.
because we want to have understanding and wisdom.
Yeah.
Well, you have resources that you can pull in medically.
Tell her what you do.
Pardon me?
She's asking what you all do, what we do about it. When there's incoherence, when my thoughts don't match my feelings.
And especially since I want to be courageous. I've always been a courageous person,
Yeah.
but now it's a little rougher.
Yeah.
So, you know, but you also want to be smart. You guys
Right,
mentioned this.
right.
Yeah, and I faced exactly the same thing a couple of weeks ago. Knowing, and I decided I would just.
Joy, see if you can speak louder. so
Okay.
they can
I
hear.
was facing those same issues about my trip a couple of weeks ago. It could have been the biggest disaster in my life because of what I was going to face when I got out there that I really had no control over, because it was health issues of family, and I didn't have a control over that. And I was facing issues for myself about traveling that long in an automobile in 2 days from here to Chicago. And so there's problems, and maybe as women we have that there's that problem of I have to go to the bathroom every 2 hours, you know, like it or not. And it's like, was that, I mean, there were just all these things bubbling. But they weren't as severe. I mean, my things could overcome mine themselves. But so mine weren't as severe as yours.
Yeah.
But I just said, what the hell? Yeah. So I did it, and it was amazing that I couldn't believe that all of these positive things happened, because it was like, again, another force was there. Everybody was not in good health, but appeared in good health. And they were happy, and they were, you know, we did all kinds of things that I thought would have been almost impossible, depending, knowing the health of my family, that it was even possible to do. And I mean, there's some very horrifying experiences that they're going to be facing. But for whatever time period, it was like a miracle to me. And I don't know, and it just did it. Now I don't know. And you feel good about doing it.
Hmm?
You feel good about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just thinking maybe I could take a ship. That just came to me as we put that out loud.
Yeah,
because
cruise.
The thought of being in the airplane when I can't do anything. The stewardess said, you need to sit down, and my legs are cramping, you know, but a ship. might be
Right.
nice.
So did you all hear Joy?
Yeah.
You online, did you hear what Joy was saying? Oh, great, okay.
Yeah. it is.
Okay, good.
So
Anybody else want to comment?
I'd like to comment.
Yeah. Darlene is speaking.
No, that's okay. I was saying that's a wonderful decision.
go by
That you could take.
Yeah, go by yourself or with your husband. It depends on if he would probably fly and I would take the ship. Okay. That's what we do right now. I fly to like Arizona, he drives the car. You know, we meet up.
Whatever works.
Whatever works. That's a great idea. I did have a bad experience once 3 weeks
right now.
Now, how long of a trip will it be from here to where you want to go in Italy? It could be several days, but that's okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
let me
that's
get
what I
online.
think.
Who was gonna speak online?
I was just going to mention that when I feel that incoherence, I usually need to get clear or it just drives me crazy. It's just always there in the back, you know, kind of muddying everything up. Sometimes I use a piece of paper to just jot down like what are the things that are standing in my way of this thing on my bucket list or this dream. And then I really look into those and see if there's any way of overcoming it. So if I have problems on flights too, and problems with my legs, they may not be to the extent of, was it Betty? Diane. Like, can you wear stockings, you know, special air stockings? Can you make sure that every half hour you do those special exercises with your legs and feet when you're sitting? And, you know, just get realistic about what you can do. And if I find out that I can't really physically meet the requirements for that dream, which happens to me because I do have some physical issues, then I just decide that I'm not going to go to Italy. And that's not going to be something that I'm going to think about doing anymore because I've thought it through. I don't have what it takes to do it. But on the other hand, if I can possibly do it now, I figure my legs aren't going to get any better in the future, maybe. So I might as well go for it now if I can find a way to make it happen. So I just kind of write it down and kind of look at everything. And then if I can't do it, I need to let that go and say that was a dream that I'm not going to have. And I'm sure we all have a lot of them, rather than let it haunt me. So sometimes that has really helped.
Great.
I can't say it's perfect. You know, there's always those dreams, you know, like I can't sing and play the guitar anymore. And I really wish I could, and I can't. And I've had to just move on to the adjustment part here. And
Or consider another passion.
exactly, yeah. So that's it.
I can't do that, I can do this. Who else out there? Anybody else? Okay, then. I want to move on. Oh, here's what I want to add to that. I was thinking that is one of the reasons I think that treasure maps were invented. You know what a treasure map is, right? Or a vision board, pictures and words of what you do want. It's a consciousness conditioner. So you look at this treasure map or vision board, look at these beautiful pictures, and it conditions the mind when negativity comes up, when fears come up, to not. An example, please. What possibilities, because we're still looking at possibilities, what possibilities for your life have inspired you? An example, a specific example.
Betty's here.
Hey, Betty.
That statement sounds a little funny to me because it's saying what possibilities for your life, where you're talking about the future, have inspired you is something that happened in the past. So the only way I can think of answering that is that I always wanted to be a nurse. And my father died when I was 15. I had to stay at home, couldn't go away to college. I had to stay home, take care of my little sister and so forth. But I knew that it would always be possible, maybe someday. And I think I've mentioned this before. When I was in my 40s, I got a Lady Clairol scholarship for women over 40 going back to school. And I became a nurse when I was almost 50 years old. So the possibility was there. It was just when was it going to be reachable. And I always had it in the back of my mind, and so it eventually took form.
Perfect example. Thanks, Betty. Who else?
Well,
Darlene?
I could say that when I first met Forrest and dated him in the early 80s, and then he broke up with me, you know, for some reason, I knew we were always going to be together. I just knew it. And 30 years later, we were together. You know, and we were in two different places, you know, at that time.
Pretty amazing
So,
story.
It was.
Really? Kept you inspired all those years,
It
right?
did, you know.
Well, you forgave him too.
Oh, well, you know, I never really wanted to be with somebody who didn't want to be with me. So it was hard in one sense, but it was something that had to be done, I think, for both of us.
Yeah.
We both had growing to do.
Did you marry in between? Did you marry someone else in between?
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
another saga altogether.
Yeah, that's,
I'm just,
yeah, yeah.
I'm just asking. There's some similarities. So I'm like, I was relating, not getting those.
Okay.
We have a sorority going on here.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Who else out there? We've been quiet on the Western Front.
No, I got one more with you, Jen.
Is Susie still there, Howard? Susie? Okay, Howard, I know you had a possibility that inspired you. It was Susie.
Of course, it's always redundant when you ask me that question because, you know, somehow she got into my head when I was like 14 or 15 years old. She wandered off, and somehow I found her again when I was like 19 or 20, but she was always part of me, my thoughts. And anyway, we got back together, got married, and 69 or 59 years old.
59, not 69. 69 one day. Yeah, and that was the same with my relationship with Jan Howard. My mother always said I'd get a boyfriend, you know, she'd say, oh, Jan was such a nice boy. And I'd say, Mom, stop, you know. And then we lived in Texas and he was in, oh, well, it was just, you know, it was meant to be because we did end up with so much miles apart and states apart that we did get together. Long story in the middle of the tour. And I've been married to 7 different guys, but I told you that already.
She came back to me each time.
Anyway, never mind. That's that. I would say while I'm talking away, another possibility. We traveled so much and moved around. Then when I was about 50, we came back to Massachusetts, and I thought, well, now I guess it was a little earlier than that. What was I going to do? And I wanted to help people, so I couldn't figure out how. Well, I took some classes and did some Myers-Briggs and all that stuff, and ended up I became an activities director. And you had in Massachusetts, you had
Talk slowly. Susie, talk a little slowly because it's hard to catch what you're saying. The microphone.
Lower.
is not clear.
assisted livings. Where do I talk so that they can hear me? Oh, well, I became an activities director, studied for that, got my certification in nursing homes and assisted living. And I did help people. I wanted to teach them arts and crafts, and I did fulfill that wish. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
great. Thanks. Susie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who else? Anybody else? Okay, onward and upward. I'm gonna skip that one because we've dealt with that one. We talked about this a little bit, but I'll just pause for a moment to see if anything else comes to you. In what ways are you married to amazement, or could you be? If you are not just a visitor into this world, what are you? And that's from her poem. Diane?
Well, this amazement for me is about possibilities again, because I was thinking, whoever online talked about thinking carefully and doing your list, and then that word adjustment, that was very helpful. Thank you for that. I've kind of been the reverse all my life. I just kind of do whatever feels like I should do in the moment, which is not really smart sometimes, but it's also worked out okay. I was very geared towards going back to school, getting my PhD. And I was in a women's circle where we did a lot of drumming and ritual. And the last ritual was about washing our hands in a beautiful basin and drinking in what was meant to be, which to me, I spent a whole year getting ready to go back to school. I got pregnant at 39. That was the universe giving me a possibility. And it's the best thing that ever happened in my life. And I would have known that. I mean, and how many people, I have so many friends that have tried to get pregnant. Right. And how many people, so doesn't the universe kind of give us possibilities too?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I think. My whole life has been one big universe sending me here or there.
Absolutely. God has a plan.
And that's amazing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you all hear Diane? Good.
And it's interesting to me when I don't want to follow the plan, I'm not going to do it. And it's like, that's okay. We'll help you out here.
And do you like the help that you get?
I think I was amazed by it and mesmerized by it. And could only see the plan in retrospect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once
Isn't
I,
that true?
once I hit the landing and I looked around and see what happened, then I was really amazed.
Thank you. So reflection on life. And the way that, from a high perspective, from a mountaintop perspective, we can see how the plan unfolded to bring us where we were today, and it couldn't have been any other way.
Okay, so are you saying then that we come into this like with a plan? We don't have, I guess, is that difference between free will or guided? Are we guided, or things don't work out because they're not supposed to? I'm really not clear on, for me, on, sometimes I feel like I've stumbled into something, but then I think I really didn't stumble into this. This is the way it was supposed to go. But is that true about everything? I mean, a lot of things happen to me that I absolutely had no plan for. And it turned out what I'm thinking to probably be, it was like, how did that just happen? So I guess I've always wondered, is there a plan when we come in here to go from A to, and do we have where's the difference between free will and what we're guided to do? Because sometimes you think you have free will, and I realize that's don't. I think it is, but I'm not. So is that the plan? I don't know. I don't know what Unity's thought is about that. Is there a plan when I came in here? That here's a plan for me? Or
Hang on, let me ask them. So you folks online, did you all hear Joy about the question? And it's one of the more significant questions we could ever ask.
Right.
For me, is there a plan for our lives, or is there not, given that we have free will? And she noted that, there's some things that happen that we couldn't have planned if we gave it our best thinking.
or we try to plan something.
And it doesn't work, right?
Yes, and
So
I just don't know if there's an answer to that question.
Well, let's see what those who are out in the ethers say.
Okay.
Eileen?
This is Eileen. I had no plan of moving to Arizona or meeting Judy. But as I look back at all the different events that took place to get me here, I was in the moment with what I was guided to do. And that was that I was ending a relationship and trying to listen to what my inner knowing was, which led me to come to Arizona to meet Judy. And when I had all of the different people that I met at that time, and some of them that I knew before I met Judy, it was all these people who knew each other, just like our group of people here, where we've met people through church and so forth, or seminars we've been to. And so my whole life has been led to different places where I met people who I feel later I was supposed to meet, who were people who are influencing me to the better and to be a better person, and to be a light to others. And so I try to take those experiences and just be in the moment with them, you know, because I don't know tomorrow who I'm going to meet. And sometimes I think a lot of people have so many plans that they lose out on what might be right in front of them because they're not being in the moment with where they've been led. So I do kind of believe in foreordination, but on the other hand, there are other experiences that come that lead us to places we had no clue that we were going to go.
Well said. Thanks, Eileen. Who else? Betty?
I once wrote a story about thinking that when I arrived here on the planet as a baby, I came with a box of puzzle pieces. And in the beginning, my parents started to put the puzzle together, and then my teachers and my people in church and so forth. And so my life was developing with the guidance of these people. And then I started to put my life together myself, and I put the pieces in there, get married and so forth. That one about wanting to be a nurse, somehow that didn't fit into the puzzle at the time. It just was not the right shape to fit into that puzzle. But I didn't throw it away. I kept it and kept on going. So to make a long story short, I feel that there is a plan. That power that is greater than we are has a plan, but we have free will to put it together or to go our own way and find out that things are not working out so well. But I just, to me, I think that there's still a lot of more pieces in my puzzle yet, and I'm interested to see how they're going to fit together.
Great. I like that thought a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Who else?
Well, someone gave me a plaque that I keep. It's like, life happens when you're making plans.
Yeah,
And
it's true.
it's kind of like, oh, no. Yeah, and I almost gave up making plans because it's just, I kind of do, you know, but I don't, it's like, I know I need to do X, but I'm not quite sure what that looks like. So I'll wait and see, kind of that way, because every time I think I got a nail, I really don't.
Betty Jo, thank
Yeah.
you.
I look back and I think God's plan for us is all good and wholeness, and God is whole. And we are reflection of his wholeness, but we also have choices, and we choose those choices. And sometimes we need to get in alignment with our divine self, and that prepares us to be aware to make the best choices.
Yeah. Did you all hear Betty Jo? Oh, boy.
Oh, say it again.
Oh dear.
So, why don't you try it again a little louder? I'll mute my.
Okay. I think that God's plan for us is total wholeness because he is total wholeness. And we are divine reflections of him.
Did you all get that part? That God is wholeness, all the good we can imagine and more, and we are a part of that. And so,
So we need to be in alignment with our divine self so that we can make the best choices that we can make.
yeah. Yes. So unity says that God is the creative principle of absolute good. And that the energy of absolute good manifests as us and the universe. And there is divine order in the universe, is there not? I mean, it may not look like it at all times, but picture the universe now. All the planets are out there hanging out in gravity and they're not crashing into one another. And, you know, the world is round, but we're not falling off the edge as it turns. There's order. And I think the question you asked, Joy, is one that we all have to reconcile on our own. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like we all have to reconcile in our own soul, our own heart and soul, who God is and what God is and how God works, how this creative principle of absolute good works, or whatever someone believes about God. If you believe you've got a punishing God, that creates another kind of life, another kind of experience of life. But in unity, we say God is not punishing, God is the principle of absolute good, always seeking to create more good. So when I think about that creative principle of absolute good, always seeking to create more good, I better get clear about what good is.
Well, I was raised where God is, he'll get you.
Yeah.
And that, I said, I was raised where God was a punisher.
Right.
Because God was there to get you. And as soon as you did this, and he knows it. So I had this vision of this mean-spirited person, entity, whatever, waiting to nail me down or something. And no, and that was, you know, and that's the way I grew up. It's just like, you know, everybody's out to get you, and God is like really going to get you if you don't do this. So when I was thinking about why that was and going over my family stuff, and my mother was raised Catholic. And
Talk
she was
loud, Joy, talk
okay,
loud.
my mother was raised Catholic, and so that's all she ever was. And even though, like, anyway, so I'm trying to come to terms with why she needed to do that or be that way. And I think that a lot of it was she had so much fear in her life and so much not understanding or insecurity that God apparently was used in her life the same way. And I think that if she scared me enough, because she, you know, that I would fall into line, except she picked the wrong person to do that.
Okay,
So, yeah, and
you're
just,
working on it.
huh?
You're working on it.
Oh, yeah, I have been my whole life. But I just think that it's just interesting. I'm thinking how nice it would have been if I could have grown up in unity, how life might have been different. But I didn't.
Exactly, but it wasn't. So is that the plan or not?
I don't
Reconcile it.
So an additional question about what unity teaches. I believe in reincarnation. It makes sense to me. You spoke of energy, Sharon, and I can feel the energy around me all the time. And I hope that unity doesn't say it's not okay to believe in that, because what I believe, because I was raised like that too, Joy, many of us were. I believe that we get to, it's a combination of free will and a plan for us. And somebody said, you know, somebody online said, there's a plan, but sometimes we're ignoring it. Yeah, at least my mother had experience. I loved kids, and I'd always work with them, but I stuck that part in the conflict that we were talking about. So I think we get to learn from this life and go on into our next lives, however many there might be. And so I've worked with extremely angry criminal type people. And I believe that they're learning on this journey, and then they're going forth into the next journey. And hopefully if they've learned some things, because we're gonna make mistakes, like school. This is like school. It's school. It's a school of life, you know? But that's just, I don't know about unity and reincarnation.
Well, in terms of unity and reincarnation, the founders really espoused reincarnation in the early years and then backed off of that because it was, I don't know when it started, but there was the fear and the vision of life that would not abide reincarnation in Christianity at a certain period. And so the Fillmores kind of, well, people who follow them kind of backed off of teaching reincarnation because unity was getting a reputation of being woo-woo. From those who were where they were in their own evolution. And that perception blocked people from trying it out.
And is that because there's a Christian basis in unity? And Christians teach heaven and hell, don't they? Is that what the philosophy of afterlife is?
Well, I mean, some do. I'm not quite sure who. I think, again, I think we all have to come to have to reconcile the opposites there, and or the belief system. And I think if you talk to some Catholic priests, you would find that they too believe in reincarnation. Because it comes out of what you believe about God.
Richard Rohr believes in it, yeah. Okay, thank you.
And you know, churches, I believe, this is my belief, is that churches were set up by man, and at one time more of a control issue, that just like a parent-child, you have to do this or you won't get your reward, and the reward at that time was heaven. Okay, and you know, a lot of us have grown from that and have a new perspective. I mean, look at Jesus. Jesus died, he came back. You know, so I mean, it's just part of your expanding. What is that going to say? Your consciousness, yes.
So I just want to throw this in. This is like a parenthetical statement, okay? In the midst of this great discussion, a parenthetical statement that I was thinking about driving in this morning on this material, and that is as a part of our own spiritual evolution, and we're talking about the gift of years, right? The gift and the grace of years, that our horizons expand. We see things from a wider, higher perspective. Hopefully. Yeah. Betty Jo, I saw that hand up.
Yeah, I think sometimes we need to include our past learning and not doubt it so much as negative, but include it and then transcend into your new expansion.
Use it to expand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you all hear Betty Jo? So to use our past experience as a way of expanding where we are today, or where we've been going for that. Anyone else? Before I pose another question. so this is from David White, my favorite poet, and then Mary Ellen. David, then Mary. So David White got a degree in marine biology, but he had a poetic soul. He was fascinated and lured by Jacques Cousteau as a youngster, and followed that fascination into a degree in marine biology. And then he had many adventures in the Galapagos, taking people on tours. And then he became a director of an organization that dealt with environment and marine biology. And it was exhausting to him because now his soul is really seeking the next expression, right? The soulfulness, the poet in him. So he was exhausted, and he was a friend of Brother David Stendhal Rice and Rast. And so they're having dinner one evening, and David says to Brother David, "What is the antidote for exhaustion?" Because he was exhausted. What do you think it is?
Sleep.
Passion,
What?
passion,
Passion,
Excitement.
excitement,
Renewal,
renewal,
change your pattern of living.
change your pattern of living. Anybody?
Sometimes I feel like I just need to step back. a
Step
little bit
back.
And just, for me, it's sleep and recharging.
Great.
Follow your own rhythm,
Who said that?
Maya.
Maya? What did you say? Say it again, Maya, please.
Follow your own rhythm.
Follow your own rhythm.
So step
Right.
back, yeah, and then like find your rhythm. Like what part of what you're doing is exhausting you? What aren't you honoring about the way your particular unique being needs to work in the world?
Great. Anyone else? Okay, I'll tell you what Brother David Zimmel Rast answered. He said, the antidote for exhaustion is wholeheartedness. The antidote for exhaustion, or boredom for that matter, is wholeheartedness. Wholeheartedness.
I'm
It's
not
my
sure what,
wholeheartedness. And clearly, David's whole heart was not in his work, right? Because he's got this poet in him seeking expression.
Reverend Sharon, I can't get that word that you're saying. Wholeheartedness?
Wholeheartedness.
Oh, okay.
Wholehearted. Or as Diane said, passion. You know, I'm 100% in this. Anybody else?
Sometimes there's two kinds of exhaustion. I think there's
Yeah.
mental and physical sometimes, and they're not always the same at the same time either.
No, and I think in this case, he was talking about mental. exhaustion.
But I was just thinking.
There is a distinction for sure.
Yeah, and it could be a good thing too, if you need to change paths. Yeah, it could be a wake up call.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
So, yeah, we're talking wake up calls and for you guys who are, ladies and gentlemen online, to pay attention. To know how to grow old is the masterwork of wisdom and one of the most difficult chapters in the great art of living. This is a quote from our book. So my question is, what have you learned about coming into this stage in your life?
how many hours do we have?
It's true, isn't it? I mean, we could expound on this ad infinitum. Any shortened comments?
I looked around and I kind of felt pretty good about the way I've come into this stage in life.
Yeah, I do.
I-
What have you
I
learned?
looked around.
What'd you learn? What have you learned? Is the question.
A greater understanding for the things that happen and a greater acceptance and how to turn those in my favor.
Great, well said. But you said it so softly. Can you say it louder so those that
Well,
might?
I learned a greater acceptance for the things that happen and a greater way to turn the things that happen in my perception of them in my favor.
Great, well said.
Being,
Who else?
being more authentic.
Being more authentic, great.
I was going to mention what you brought up earlier about our definition of good. Since God is this force of good, I was brought up that way. And then I found out that life had a lot of bad stuff in it. And I had to, over the years, come to terms with how the bad stuff was good.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm still working on that.
Well, without challenge, we don't grow.
Pardon?
Without challenge, we don't grow.
Without challenge, we don't grow.
And challenge is always beautiful.
The challenge has, and oftentimes the challenge initiates in our soul, in the core of our being. I mean, think about a baby. Mom and dad probably aren't saying, learn to, well, they probably are, hold the bottle with your hand. Or, start crawling. You don't have to tell a baby to start crawling or to turn over. Eileen,
I've learned that if I ask for what I want, that I'll receive it. Like when I ask for something new to happen and I went to California and I met you and I had no clue that I would see you again. But then when I retired and said, okay, I'm ready for my next chapter, there you were in Sun City. And I just learned that if I ask for those, that God will send me the people and they'll show up in my life for my next lessons that I need to learn.
great, thank you. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay.
I think one of the things too is that we are taught from the time, I was taught from the time I was small to become more domesticated, okay? And, I'm at a point now that I don't have to live the way somebody else told me I had to live. I can choose how I want to live.
And it's a wonderful learning, isn't it? And I mean, it's such an important learning. I get to choose. Adjustment. So this is the topic of adjustment now, that chapter.
This is Kathy. On the other hand, I've learned that my parents weren't so stupid.
I know, me too. My parents weren't so stupid. They really knew, yeah. Okay, let's take a look at this for a minute. What have been the positive as well as the challenging changes of this stage? This is another all-day topic.
I'm kinder.
You're kinder. Oh, how great. Brilliant.
I think I'm more patient.
Great, more patient.
And have more gratitude for what I have in my life, what I experience.
And more gratitude, great. Anybody online? Chime in.
And compassion.
More compassionate? Great. Those are all gifts, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Living and learning.
That's what I was going to say, consciousness for me. And it's positive and it's also a challenge because with consciousness comes the need to provide compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So such awareness.
This is Kathy. One of the positive things that I've learned is to like myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
I agree with that.
But as a young person struggling just to get through in the world, I would just blame myself. Oh, you know, it's hard on myself, really hard on myself. If things weren't right.
I grew up hating my name. I hated my name. I didn't want to hear it. You know, part of that is Karen Brady. What did you, Karen Brady? What did you do? You know, and then as I grew older, I found the meaning of my name.
Oh, which is?
Well, Karen is a derivative of Catherine, which means pure.
Pure?
Wow. And my middle name is Freya, which is Norwegian, Scandinavian, goddess of love, and my name means pure love.
Oh,
Wow. And until I got into recovery, I didn't know that. And I would never tell anybody, even my middle initial. I didn't like my F for a middle initial. So with age, that what Kathy said, the self, not only self-acceptance, but some self-loving in a healthy way.
Some self-loving in a healthy way.
Great.
Great. Did you all hear what Karen said? She hated her name, her first name and her middle name. She hated it, and that was because
I was always in trouble.
she was always in trouble.
And it was valid. I always was in trouble.
I don't know why I find that so amusing.
It's okay. It amused everybody in the neighborhood.
There's something about being in trouble. Anyway, so Karen was saying she discovered the real meaning of her name, the name that she hated as a kid. She discovered has a beautiful meaning, which is pure love. So she was segueing from what Kathy said about learn to love myself, or like myself. Anyone else on this one?
Well, I think we should celebrate all the Karens because that was very helpful to know that it means pure when the world is using Karen as a derogatory term towards.
People told me that, and I couldn't accept it.
Well, it's good that you didn't accept it because I have some friends that are named Karen that are really in pain about it. It's absolutely ridiculous that they would choose one name. So I'm going to tell my friends that it means pure.
Absolutely. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You guys, do you know Sharon? Karen.
Oh,
is-
yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain to them what?
Yeah, I'm
Karen
not,
means?
I don't watch TV, so.
Karen means.
Well, Karen, right there, said she hated her name.
Yeah, but she's saying Karen's.
No, Karen has in recent time, in actually about the last 2 years, represented, it's a name that represents a certain behavior in females.
Which
And
is?
I can't remember exactly. but-
Entitled, don't be a Karen, you know, it's, I never heard about it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm on
That's only me in person here,
It's very negative.
Yeah, it was
women
just,
are being accused of being Karens.
Yeah.
They've taken a beautiful name and made it synonymous with being entitled, bitchy, kind of.
it
guys
was
have
just
heard
the
that.
ego judgment.
It is.
I had people tell me, you know, that they thought it was funny that my name was Karen. I don't pay attention to that. They'll come around.
So we're talking about the name Karen, and it's been redeemed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pure, means pure.
Okay, I'm moving on. Resistance is futile. True?
True.
Are there changes you resist? Like changes that you talk about, oh, my body, oh, my head hurts, oh, my this, that. Changes you resist by the way you handle it, the way you talk about it, the way you share about it.
Yep.
The way you complain about it, the way you avoid it altogether,
The way you fear it.
the way you feel it.
It's all about what you focus on. So if the change comes and you say, oh no, I don't want to have this, you're not gonna like it because you're not focusing on the positive things that are coming that will help you to grow to be a better person.
Absolutely, well said. Have any of you been with a group of friends where what we're sharing about is our latest medical issue?
All the time.
All the time. Pay attention, how does that affect your energy? What is the energy of, I've been to the doctor because my hip hurts. I mean, there's nothing wrong with sharing it, but I'm just
Not dwelling
inviting
on it.
us to consider resistance here.
I thought that I was managing that pretty well until I took the trip and got out of that environment and was with younger people, surrounded by family. And I noticed a physical change in myself.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Well,
I noticed several physical changes. One of them wasn't entirely positive because they treated me like I was a little old lady. They were going to help me up the curb and they were going to help me get to the car. All these things, they're all big and they look down on me, you know. Like, come on, Grandma. But other than that, just watching their interaction and their behaviors, and you know, I really noticed a big difference between me where I live and me out in society, out with the normal family.
Yeah. So just say a little bit about where you live so we understand what that.
I live in an assisted living facility, and I went to a family, wasn't a reunion, but it was a graduation, which was a live reunion. And so ages from toddler all the way on up, watching little kids run around a gym, playing with balloons and, you know, stuff like that. And I noticed a difference physically in me.
In a positive way?
Yes,
So it was lifting
yes.
to be around
Uplifting.
positive, enthusiastic energy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize I needed it.
Amen. Any comments from out in the ethers? No ether comments.
I was just gonna say, I had that kind of conversation with a group of women after I golfed last Saturday, and it's like, I keep making the comment that I'm trying really hard not to get into those negative conversations and not focusing on the parts of my body that are not working, but talk about the ones that are. Like, we just got through golfing and we made it through this round and everything's good. Not, oh shoot, I ache and my body's not working, you know. It's like such a downer to talk like that.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Well, I've been hit by several new health conditions within the last year and a half. But this is a good reminder. I am going on a non-talking health streak now for, you know, I'm gonna give it 60 days. And, you know, you just have to come up with pat answers because your loved ones do care about you.
Yeah.
And they know this stuff is going on.
Mhm.
So they say, well, how's this? Or, you know, did you get the referral from the spine doctor? You have to have a pat answer not to talk about that stuff.
True, and to still be able to talk about it to get the energy out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know what,
Not
I'm
rocket
Sharon, I'm
science.
gonna talk about it with the health providers. I'm
Yeah.
going to physical therapy today. I'll talk about it with them. I have to have a pat answer for those people that love me. They are concerned. And, you know, what is there to say?
Yeah.
You are progressing on another journey with health issues, as far as I'm concerned. And I really do feel like when I'm in a group of people and everybody are talking about their knee replacements or their hips or whatever, what comes up for me is that going to hit me next? You know, it's like, it's not helpful.
No.
But sometimes it's helpful information too, not all bad.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you need information, you've got to have a place to.
I
go.
noticed walking down the hall, the greeting. When we walk down the hall, and this would be out in in, wherever everybody is. The thing is, hi, how are you? And I decided I'm going to say hello.
Instead of how are you?
That's a great,
Yeah.
Say, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Any final,
I kind of say, I'm getting better and better every day.
I've done that.
okay, we'll go back to this next week. Our third topic, fulfillment.
Before you move on, Howard's has had his hand up.
Howard, I didn't see your hand. I'm so sorry. What?
No, don't be sorry. I didn't like the statement, changes you resist. Talk about avoid altogether. Which, am I supposed to talk about changes or am I supposed to avoid them altogether? I can't do both. And I think several people made there are things you have to talk about. How you talk about them. Oh, woe is me. You know, I got cancer. You know, who cares? But if you come back from a bone scan and it comes back, not talk about it. Pardon?
Speak in, yeah, lean forward and speak because we just lost you.
Well, I said if you have cancer and you go for a bone scan and it comes back negative that you haven't metastasized the cancer, you need to explain to the people around you, you know, I'm okay. You can't avoid it altogether, and you can't, you know, oh, woe is me. So it's a delicate balance. It's more of an attitude, you know, whining and pouting, but you've got to give enough information to make people comfortable that seem to know for whatever reason. I love Facebook.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Susan.
Well said. Okay, we're gonna pray out. Are you ready? And just pause for, just pause for a moment and anchor anything that came from our discussion today that is helpful to you. And think about the things you're grateful for. So I'd like to close with the energy of gratitude. So Lord, we just thank you right now for this time. We thank you for your presence in each one of us, guiding us into the rest of our day with a sense of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy. So we thank you, God, for this time and this day and all the good in it. Amen. And amen. Adios, happy trails, see you next week. Thank you, have a good week. Yeah, we say have a good week, everybody.
We will.